Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 180 Briefs. So glad that you can join us. Sorry for the technical difficulties last week. We were having some fun with Pastor Kenneth's video, so we skipped it and we're moving it to another week, so stay tuned for that. Just want to check in with you guys. Hope everything is doing well. Feel free to like and subscribe and all that down below, and share this with somebody. Was hearing on K-Love, I think now it's like a couple weeks, where they were talking about things that when the particular person was a kid, the nightmare they had, and how from that point on they were afraid of whatever it is, even to this day. And I was thinking back about a time when I used to be still kind of creeped out by fish. And I'm not talking about the cutesy ones that you see in an aquarium at home. I'm talking about like in the river and the lakes, like the bass and the carp, and the fun ones to catch while fishing, but you don't want them nibbling on you when they're in the lake or whatever. So I had this dream when I was a kid, probably watching, either something on PBS, or maybe it was that movie with Don Knotts where he turns into a fish, and it's live and cartoon at the same time. But I had this dream that night that I was dangling my feet in the lake or whatever, and the fish came up and just gobbled my foot, just like hung on for dear life, and I couldn't get him off. And it freaked me out in my dream so much that I woke up freaking out and throwing the covers off to look at my feet. And I was wearing black socks to bed, and so it looked like, I looked down at my foot and the sock was dangling off. So it freaked me out because I was thinking it was the fish. So that was one thing. To this day, fish freak me out in the water. I'll get over it. The other thing is, and this one isn't so much of a nightmare, it's just something silly that, as you think as a kid, and I don't think this anymore, but I remember in my bedroom I had this little black and white TV, and it had the two dials, and you click, 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 click to turn different channels. And I remember watching Three's Company. Not exactly made for kids, but I was watching that. And, like, Three's Company is filmed before a studio audience. And so you would hear, when someone would crack a joke, you would hear the laughing and all that. So I always thought, as a kid, at that time, that you hearing the voices of the audience laughing, I thought it was people in their homes. So when I was laughing at a joke, I was thinking other people could hear me, so I would start laughing louder so I could be the loudest. So crazy, stupid things like that you think of as a child. Down below in the comments, I want you to put something that you thought as a kid that was crazy, whether it was something that scared you or something that just now you just laugh at. Does it still bother you, like the fish still kind of somewhat bother me, or is it something that, like, I definitely know that those aren't people that I'm hearing laughing through the TV? Yes, there's laughter, but it's not someone live from their home laughing in through the TV system. So write that down below in the comments. Again, welcome to 180. Hope you are having a great week. Hope, be grateful that you survived the week. Reach out to us if you have any prayer requests, at, what is it? It's 180hsdac@gmail.com. Send your prayer requests, or down below in the comments. If you want to put it there, put it down there. I just want to hear from you guys. Would love to see your faces. Send me a 5-second video if you'd like, just so I can see your faces, for those of you that I don't actually get to see. All right, guys. Again, welcome to 180. And tonight's guest speaker is Sean Wilson. Love you all. Bye.
Hi, and welcome to 180 Briefs. I was privileged to be invited to share with you some of my thoughts, and some of my thoughts you would hear if you were invited over for a get-together. And when we have our get-togethers, we usually have a big table, and everybody sits around the table, and we play this game called the Circle of Topics. And each person is allowed to ask a question, and everybody in the circle is then given the opportunity to answer the question, or they can say pass, and then if it comes around again and they want to answer it. So things like, where's one of the favorite places you've been to? Who are some of your favorite movie stars or sports heroes or interesting people you've ever met? And so I was wondering, what if somebody were to ask you, who is the greatest hero? Or who's your greatest hero? And if I were to ask the question, I would say, well, it can't be anybody from your family. Tell me about, somebody else that you think would be a hero. And so I thought, the world's in need of heroes, right? And I thought, what would be some hero attributes that the greatest heroes of all time have had? So they were listed as bravery, courage, strength, helpful, conviction, moral integrity, determination, honesty, inspirational selflessness. And it's funny because, I've been, a friend of mine posted on Facebook that, every chapter of Luke is like one day of December. And by the time you get to Christmas Eve, you could have read the entire book of Luke and know what the reason for the season is, right? So I thought, wow, that seems like something I can do. And since then, I've just been really enthralled with trying to figure out, why Jesus is a hero and why is he my hero? And then I thought, well, what about earthly heroes? What does the world consider the greatest heroes of all time? So I looked them up as well on Google, and here they are, kind of ranked 1 to 10. Abraham Lincoln, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Leonardo da Vinci, Mahatma Gandhi, William Shakespeare, George Washington, Isaac Newton. Also listed in the top 20, Walt Disney, Harriet Tubman, Helen Keller, Rosa Parks. The only sports hero, you probably guess, is Jackie Robinson. He's also in the top 20. But I thought, from a spiritual perspective and a Christian perspective, there's 3 very prominent people that aren't even mentioned in the top 50. One of them is Dwight Moody. And I don't know if you know much about Dwight Moody, but, Dwight Moody started, Moody Bible Institute. And, Dwight Moody was so enthralled with Jesus being his hero that his goal was to reach 1 person per day. He had to tell 1 person about Jesus per day. And as a matter of fact, they even had to invite kids, little kids, to a youth group. He enticed them with candy. If you come to youth group, we'll give you a piece of candy. That's kind of how his ministry was started, and how enthralled he was, with the Christian faith. The other one, I thought was interesting is Billy Graham, who passed away. He reached over 200 million people via satellite, 85 million people in person. And actually I met at my mother-in-law's church a gentleman who was at a Billy Graham crusade, and he wasn't saved at the time. He was there with some friends, and when Billy Graham made the curtain call, the call, like, come as you are, that was his line. This guy, he was telling me that I just couldn't sit there any longer. I felt like I had to get up. And so he did get up, he did give his life to Christ, and then he became a Christian. And it was just so awesome to hear his story. And of course, the other person not mentioned is in the earthly heroes is Jesus. And I thought, well, what is something that Jesus was that isn't mentioned as in the hero attributes? You know, like what makes him so different? And so, you know, a lot of these are obvious to you, but I thought I'd mention them. And I really encourage you to reread the Gospels because they're great. They're very inspiring. But here's some of the things that makes him the ultimate hero. One is, you know, he forgave sins. He forgives sins. He had unbelievable compassion. Actually, one of my favorite texts is found in Luke 7, starting in verse 11. It said, Jesus went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd went along with him. And as he approached the town gate, a dead person was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. And when the Lord saw her, his heart went out to her, and he said, "Don't cry." Then he went up, touched the bier they were carrying him on, and the bearers stood still. And he said, "Young man, I say to you, get up." Here's a dead boy laying in his coffin. And Jesus says to him, "Young man, I say to you, get up." And the dead man sat up and began to talk, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. I mean, that story, when I read it, I was like, how did I miss this story? But it's funny, you know, God works with us in different times of our life and brings things back to us. And we, maybe because we're more receptive or more because of where we're at in our life, we read stuff and we're like, wow, how did I miss this? And they were all filled with awe and praise God. A great prophet has appeared among us, they said. God has come to help his people. This news about Jesus spread throughout Judea and the surrounding community. So what are some other things? You know, he healed the living. He healed the blind, the crippled, the woman who was bleeding her whole life. He cast out demons many, many times. He healed the dead. He died for us. He prepared a place for us in heaven. And, you know, John, you think there's so many different miracles that are in the four Gospels. But John says this, John 21, verse 25. Jesus did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room for the books that would have been written. That means there's too many to name. So in wrapping this up, you know, I think it's really important to know why Jesus is your hero. Because I have found in my own personal life that Jesus will bring people into your lives to witness to them. And those people maybe you're the only one that can really touch them. You know, like other people don't know them as closely, as intimately as you do. And maybe your words or your actions are the ones that are going to make them say, wow, who are you following? Why are you a Christian? Tell me how your life got better. You know, I have a dear friend of ours, who went to college, who had grown up in a man-made religion, but went to college and met another girl who was a Christian. And she was so impressed by that woman, her friend who was in college. She said, I want what she's got. And she's a Christian to this day. So I encourage you to really explore and start with the Gospels. Ask people, why is Jesus their hero? And I hope it makes a great difference in your life in 2021, and that you're able to share the gospel with people based on your own experience and really share with them why Jesus is the ultimate hero.